which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's appropriate meeting notice.
The meeting notice was posted on Friday, March 31st at the library, the city hall, the post office, and the website.
Thank you. Council acceptance agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? Is this where we want to put that postponement in or? When we get to the line. Okay. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Personal appearances for non-agenda items. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on anything that's not on the agenda tonight?
Me?
Can somebody get him a microphone?
I'm pretty loud. You can probably hear me.
It's gotta be recorded though.
Yeah. State your name and address for the record too, please.
Patrick Zimmerman, 206 West Rollins Street. So my hope is that I can propose that possibly the board consider the removal of the 12 o'clock siren. I both live and work in the community and I work overnight shift. So unfortunately, it's quite disruptive, and being that I am adjacent to the park, it's very loud for us. And I know there's a little bit of frustration around it because I posted a little something a while back just to kind of get some feedback. And it was quite supportive of the siren. But I'm hoping that maybe some middle ground can be met. And if we remove that new one, it'll be less disruptive for me. And I think it'll also be less disruptive for maybe new families that are in the area that are trying to, maybe have their kids take a nap at that time. And it's just like, boom, we get this loud noise. And I know one of the other myths, I think, is that people think it's part of the emergency alert. And it is unrelated to the emergency alert and doesn't help us in those particular moments. So anyways, that's kind of just what I was hoping you guys would consider. So thanks.
All right, thank you. We can't discuss it tonight because it's not on the agenda.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to the minutes from March 20th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes, March 20th.
I'll second.
Motion to second to approve the minutes for March 20th. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Bid reports. Finance Committee, Candy.
And finance met this evening. Motion to approve pay request number 2 from BKS Construction, Inc. for the Henry Street and Utility Improvement Project in the amount of $49,965.02.
I'll second.
Motion to second to pay BKS Construction. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve bills and payroll in the amount of $446,003.38.
I'll second.
Motion to second to pay the bills. Any questions on the bills?
Just one quick one. I was at finance and I heard Tim asking about the debt payment there, but why the two different ones? I guess I didn't hear why.
Why are there two debt?
Just two different payments there.
We have lots of debt payments due on the 1st of April. So are they both design? One might be, if they are, then one might be interest and one principal. When you get to that page, Jim.
It was both sides.
Okay, then one's.
They're both
interest and
Zion, yeah.
principal.
I'm sorry, one.
Interest and principal.
Okay, that's. Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve public event packet for concerts in the park series and waive all fees.
Second.
Motion to second to approve the packet for concerts in the park. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve public event packet for the Edgerton Tobacco Days Car and Truck Show for Saturday, July 15th, 2023, and waive all fees.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the event packet for Tobacco Days Car Show. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Motion passes.
And motion to approve the lowest quote from Decker Supply for traffic safety equipment in the amount of $20,556.20.
I'll second.
Motion to approve the traffic signs. Any questions on that? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
That's it for finance.
Thank you. Planning Commission, we got a couple things here.
Introduce a second reading and adoption of the City of Edgerton Ordinance 23-04, amend chapter 22 zoning ordinances to regulate the keeping of ducks in the Code of Zoning Ordinances.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the second reading and adopt ordinance 2304. Any discussion?
I was hesitant to second that, even though I'm pushing it. I did get a correspondence today asking me not to go any further with this issue. It's the first one I've gotten out the whole time.
That's why I read it. I thought you wouldn't want to.
Thank you. Yeah, But unfortunately, well, the person read that news article, and they didn't have half the facts, so it's okay. I think.
That's interesting because I also received that asked me not to vote yes, but I didn't change my mind.
The reasoning wasn't correct in there, so it was, they didn't even know we had chickens already. So it's just, yeah.
Okay, anyone else? Roll call.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, make a motion to approve the second reading and adoption of the City of Edgerton Ordinances 23-06, amend the official zoning map for 2 Burdick Street.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the second reading and adopt City of Edgerton ordinance 2306. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Motion passes. Well, we had to bring forward. Historic Preservation Commission.
Make a motion to approve the second reading and adoption of City of Edgerton Ordinance 23-07, amend chapter 20.18 Edgerton Historic Plan to allow the installation of murals.
I'll second.
Motion second to approve the second reading and adopt City of Edgerton ordinance 2307. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes. Fire District.
I have nothing to fire this, but we got Chief here and I bet he has to say.
So I have to apologize. I now get to do this 11 times a month. So if I repeat something I said before or forget something, I'll just ask for forgiveness right up front. You have a copy of our report. We're starting to get a flavor for the new, sort of the size and magnitude of the new district. So I'll take maybe a little bit more time just to make sure that you can kind of see the different pieces that are on here. And as it says at the very top, this is preliminary, right? We have one day to pull all this together and there's already a couple of errors I found, so I'll point those out as well. Interfacility transfers, we're getting back into the swing and so that those numbers are coming out. That's a good thing. 911 incidents. The Western Division, which is really the old Edgerton, Albion, Fulton, Porter, Sumner, 94 911 calls for the month. The Eastern Division, 68. That seems to be a balance. We've watched it now for 3 months, and it does seem that the Western side of our organization is just a slight bit busier. So you can kind of see the breakdown. The thing that's unusual in the month of March was the number of EMS calls in the Western Division. We've never seen that amount of EMS calls. It's upwards of 84% of everything we did. Normally, our EMS was running about 72%. So something we're kind of digging into. We know some of the drivers behind it, but that's one that just kind of stands out to us right from the beginning. Everything else pretty much in balance. We did have one structure fire during the month, so the NFPA 1710 data is not there. That's actually the February data. And then when you get down to by municipality, the response time data, the month and the year to date, that's my big oops. That is last month's data. That is not this month's. I pulled it up, looked really quick. Edgerton was 4 minutes and 52 seconds. So we're getting back down under
For
that.
the month.
For the month. Yeah, 4 minutes and 52 seconds for the month.
That's an average, correct?
For the month, yeah, that's the
per
average.
call, that it takes about 4 minutes and 52 seconds.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's, and I know we talked quite a bit the last time about being over that 5 minute threshold in February, which was really an anomaly. So I'm glad to see that we're getting back into, where we want to be. Inspections and staffing report, we do not have the data pulled together. Way over on the right-hand side, we're running 5.9 calls a day across the entire district now, so just shy of 6 calls. So in the box there where we call out the number of days with above average calls, it used to be down to 4. I'm not going to go there because that's way below our average now. A couple of days with 7, a couple of days with 8. We did have 2 days with 11 calls. So those were a lot of activity. The simultaneous incidents seem to be continuing. We had 14 across the entire district. There was 1 day during March when, again, as I said, during February, we had all 5 district ambulances on the road at one point during March. So that kind of gives you a flavor. Staffing wise, there's the standard coming and going. The one thing I did want to point out, our shift captains, and I think I actually mentioned that here last month too. Our shift captains are on board and in the saddle. And so now we're going through the growing pains of who's in charge of what. Because it's a little bit of a, we're getting there. But it's working out really well. Those 3 gentlemen are doing a really, really good job. The financials, which you did not see, you saw January's last month, right? Because we didn't have February's pulled together, but you're now seeing February's, not March's. The one thing I pointed out to all of our municipalities that I spoke to last month after we got all these numbers, don't get overly excited about the fact that we're quite a bit into the green. We have started to get some of the catch-up payments from Medicare, which is helping tremendously. But remember, we had to take $100,000 out of reserve to cover ourselves last year. So we need to pay the reserve back before we really decide what our new, foundation is. It's positive, right? Because we're back in the green, and I think the projections will stay that way. We just don't want to get too excited about being way in the green right now. Significant events, we did have one barn fire in the town of Milton. Extremely proud of the guys and gals, as I kind of always am. Started in an outbuilding and then spread to the barn, and the crews were able to get it cut off before it got into the barn. So they did a really, really good job getting it cut off. A lot of things went on during the month. Blackhawk had a job fair. We had crews down there trying to see if we could, steal anybody from anywhere. You guys know the journey that's on. as Jim and Candy will comment, the district board had a special meeting on March 22nd. We had our architects in doing a very comprehensive, long-range look at the facilities plans. And there's obviously more to come on that. It was a first meeting and a first blush of 37 slides and a lot of detail. So that was, I thought it was a very, very good meeting. Spring Blood Drive, 29 donors, which is a good thing. I mentioned to Ramona, this is one that's near and dear to her and my heart, but it means a lot to all of you because it affects the financial issues. I had a chance to have a one-on-one conversation with Department of Revenue Secretary Peter Barca on the negative consequences under the CPI +2 language that exists today. He was literally more than open to be willing to work with us, had some ideas. So we're gonna pick that up and run with it and see if we can get that corrected. It's nobody intended in the legislation for it to have the effect that it's having, this one clause. And he recognizes that. So I think we'll see where that gets us. We're in the process of doing our rebranding over to the Lakeside name. You'll start to see that on the trucks. And you'll start to see the sweatshirts and t-shirts that go along with it here over the next month. And then I actually left it off, Chris. That was a community health and Ramona community health planning. The hospital over there. Long-range plan.
Keep them compliant also.
Yep. So again, Ramona and Mayor Lund participated, Deputy or Division Chief Lindsay and I participated, and I thought it was a good discussion. Crammed about 4 hours worth of information into an hour. I've never seen a guy go through slides that fast, but it was a good presentation. Are you going to comment on it at all, Chris, or I don't want to steal anything? The one thing that struck me is I don't think the community realizes the position that Edgerton and Edgerton Hospital is in and what they are planning to do and the improvements they're planning on making. It's very impressive, at least from my perspective. Very, very impressed. So I think we should all be very proud of what they're doing out there as well. We did manage to hit another garage door. Keeping track. Guess what the training topics are? Nothing really else significant. And then as the board members know, I'll be out of town a couple of times this month. So
There's one more thing I just thought of, Chief, when you were talking at the last board meeting. The board did agree to purchase two, and I don't know if I'm gonna get the name right, Safe
Haven baby box.
baby boxes. One for the Edgerton station and one for the Milton station. So this kind of came in light of the situation that happened in Whitewater. So we're gonna be purchasing those. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but it's temperature controlled.
Yep.
And not quite sure exactly where it's gonna be placed, so it'll be more on the side, the way our station is, it's facing the street. But it's meant for anybody to safely,
Surrender.
without being illegal about anything, to
So-
place their baby within 2 weeks of birth.
Yes, so we had those when I was chief in Sauk Village, and they're quite good. If somebody wants to give up their child with no questions asked, we'll
Yep.
advertise, as a city, so that they know where these boxes are at, and they could drop off their child as opposed to dumping them in a forest somewhere.
Yeah, and it's set up such that if somebody wanted to, like I said, their temperature sealed or whatever you want to call it, and when if a baby is placed in that, it will set off some sort of a notification to the staff inside the fire station that, hey, there's been a baby placed in here. So they can go out there and get the baby, and then they would take the baby to the hospital. So, two very wonderful things that,
We're working in concert with Edgerton Hospital on trying to make it come to fruition, and obviously the PD will be deeply involved. It's very well defined in state statute what has to happen. I think the tragedy that occurred over in Whitewater kind of prompted the move for action, so we're gonna be working on it. As Candy pointed out, our biggest challenge is going to be where, because that building just isn't designed for where those things tend to go, so we're working on that, trying to figure it out, so.
you want to make it so somebody would feel comfortable if they had to do that. So they wouldn't be out in the lights and everybody could sing, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, no, I thank you for bringing that up, because that's a big deal, once we get it going.
That goes back a little bit to the hospital presentation too,
oh,
the mental health, because
oh,
it's nice to have that there, but if there's some other reason that the person doesn't want to use it,
Yeah,
the mental health was one of the pretty heavy discussed topics.
it was, yeah, it absolutely was. Yep.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's probably here and I'm missing it, but I've been
There's a lot of
looking
stuff
at
there,
this and I'm sure this is gonna be obvious to everybody but me, but where's the 264 under the east for 9/11 incidents? There's an
Yes.
asterisk. Where's the explanation for the asterisk?
You're right, that did not get covered. We did not have responsibilities into the Eastern Division during the month of January. We didn't take over until February 1st. So if you look at the detail, EMS incidents, motor vehicle crashes, fires, if you add those up, they're not gonna come to 264. They're gonna come to 140.
Right, okay.
What we, without saying it negatively, there's not a lot of detail before we took over. So what we know is that through the first 3 months, they've had 264 incidents, but we don't have the breakdown of the ones that happened during January. We just have the breakdown of the 140 since we've taken over. So yeah,
Okay.
that's the asterisk.
Gotcha. And then you said that the 9/11 incidents for, I guess it's March, right? 68 versus 94
Yeah.
is somewhat typical.
We're, and again, 3 months worth of history, right, to work from, but we're noticing that the western municipalities is about 25%. I mean, you can kind of run the math, you guys can figure it out. We're a little more, and we are clearly a little bit more on the EMS side.
Okay. Well, I guess, and maybe this is part of your explanation for not having the data, but then if you go over to the 2023 year to date, that difference is not shown there. I mean, it's actually a much closer gap. One would expect 26 difference 1 month to be, a lot, to keep going and expand out, it actually gets narrower.
Very intuitive, so let me give you the background. Prior to us taking over, the relationship was between Milton and Janesville. And the Milton ambulances and Milton engines were in Janesville somewhere between 20 and 30 times in a month. That arrangement has stopped. We've gotten back to a more now rational support between the municipalities. We still do mutual aid with each other and all the stuff that we would normally do. But in January, the Milton department was still very heavily responding down into Janesville.
Okay.
So that, you're right. And I've struggled with, I actually have struggled with, do I even show that number, right? Because it's very unintuitive when you start looking at the numbers and trying to look for the run rate kind of concept. Things changed dramatically at the end of January, so it's kind of an awkward number right now.
Okay, that's good.
That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next item is to consider second reading and adoption of City of Edgerton Ordinance 23-05, amend chapter 29 regulation of animals to allow the keeping of rabbits.
I'll make that a motion, please.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Burdick,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Braun, Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Motion passes. And the next item, we need to postpone again. So that is a motion to postpone it.
Yeah, unfortunately we do, but we did get contact and expect to have an answer very shortly. So this should be the last time that we have to postpone it. So yes, a motion to table till the next meeting would be appropriate.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to table this till the next meeting. Any discussion? Oh, we motion to table, we can't discuss.
There's no discussion, yes. that's correct.
Roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes. Mayor, all the person in the staff reports. Well, obviously election day tomorrow, so if you haven't, get down here and vote. And happy Easter. This weekend. This weekend already. And speaking of hospital, I believe it's the 13th. They have an open house over here for these new clinics. Yeah, they were thinking it's the 13th. We did the event packet last meeting on it. So I couldn't find it. I was looking for it here. Does anybody else have anything?
So the tree board, that, is that appropriate to talk about here, or is it something we should have, I should next time?
This is a time to report, don't you think?
It is briefly.
No action.
There's no action. No, it's just tree board met today, and Arbor Day celebration is going to happen. We're gonna plant 3 trees in the middle school area, for the area that we decided that we're gonna place it. 2022, we were certified. We were announced that we are a tree city again, and that was the 5th year recognized. Thank you. And so, yeah, and I think I'll put it stop there.
Mayor, 13th at 5:30.
Okay, thank you. Didn't put it on my calendar for some reason.
I did. I knew it was there.
Better do that. Okay, the next item is some closed session stuff. Someone would like to jump on that one.
I'll move, we go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session to discuss and consider public utility extension.
Second, going to closed session. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Langen,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Tim Shaw,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
We are in closed session. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And good luck.